began with a keynote address by the famous cultural anthropologist Margaret Mead. And it was a marvelous presentation on her part. And then there was a procession. You could call it a parade. It was a procession around the cathedral with music being played and with an extraordinary group of people. And the Native Americans had their headdresses on, and the various people represented their own background, so that it was a gala event in the most positive sense of the term. And it was a marvelous keynote for the opening of the conference. You could say the entire week, this group of Sufis, and I think there were about 200 of them, were building a scaffold in the center of St. John the Divine Cathedral so that they could climb up this scaffold and present their presentation at the cathedral. So you get the idea that all kinds of things were going on, and not all of them fitted together smoothly in the conference, but by and large, everything moved forward in a very effective way. And there was a big climax towards the end, and then finally a joint statement presented by the participants. And Jean Houston, who was one of the leaders in this event, read a statement from the people at the conference, that is the leaders at the conference. And I'll have a chance to read from that the next time that we gather together. And so the conference came to a close at the end of a week. It was an entire week when they met, and it was extremely memorable, I think. I certainly can say I never had such a week in my life. I probably never have a comparable week. It encompassed the whole world. At our final event of the conference, we gathered people from the various traditions to speak, representing the traditions. There was a group of about 15 or 20 of them. And they were all remarkable people with a great background and so forth. But there was one who stood out in a dramatic way, and that was Mother Teresa of Calcutta. Now, she was not well known at that time. Of course, she's famous now, and she has received the Nobel Peace Prize and so forth, and looked upon as a saint for our time and generation and so forth. But she was not well known at all that day. And I have had an opportunity to speak to her earlier that day, just to talk about a few little things, routine when we would meet and how she would respond and whatnot. And so I got a glimpse of her incredible charism. And then when it was my turn to do the introduction, I really did stand in awe of her, because her energy, her power, and her humility were overwhelming. And so I can't remember at this moment exactly what I said, but I do remember the actual introduction to her, and I said, "It is with some awe that I introduce Mother Teresa." And I did feel that energy from her. And when she spoke, the audience was gripped in so powerful a way that people were weeping. And these were the tough people from the world of diplomacy. They don't have a reputation for having that kind of response. But she gripped them, and she talked about her work in Calcutta and the suffering of the people in that part of the world, and she told the story of a man who was dying in the streets of Calcutta, and she had lifted him up and brought him to her center, but he was actually dying, and he said, "I've lived like an animal in the streets, but now I can die like an angel." And everybody in the audience were weeping. So, even as I remember it, I moved by it. And so the conference came to an end. And I want to say this just briefly, that it was one of the greatest events in my life. And I'll remember every minute of it.